first I'm going to show a recap slide, just kind of go over what we talked about. We went from having a brainstorming session where we weren't sure what was going to be in our database. We kind of thought out some ideas, did some scribbling, pen and paper, to kind of figure out what we were going to do. Once we had our brainstorming session, we created our database where we actually went into SQL Management Studio and actually created the tables and the constraints. Kind of got our database set up to start using our data. Once we had our database in there, we went through the normalization where we optimized it and reduced our data redundancy, so we're going to have repeating data and kind of that whole idea. And then what we just saw with Adam and Andy was creating the extra data access layer on top of that so that we can start using our database in our code. We've kind of been doing this whole theme of let's build something, get our hands dirty, and then once we see how it works, we'll let Microsoft do it for us, kind of with the database and with the entity framework as well. We're going to kind of take that one step further in this section. And basically, we want to see what else can Visual Studio do with the entity framework that might be cool. Let's experiment. And this is what we're going to do in the lab. I'm just going to run through it real quick. We're going to open up Visual Studio 2010. And then we're going to create a new project, not a console application. We're going to create an ASP.NET Dynamic Data Entities web application. And that's a mouthful. Once we have our application in there, we're going to go to our Solution Explorer, click on the project and add a model, just like last time, ADO.NET Entity Data Model. After that, we're going to let it find our database we've been using the whole time, the class schedules database, and tell it to import all the tables, the views, the stored procedures. I don't know how many of you work with web applications in Visual Studio before, but in C++, you kind of have a main.cpp. That's usually where your application begins. In web applications, there's something similar called global.asx. It's kind of where your application begins on the web side. And we're going to go into there and basically just change one line of code and tell it, I want to set a default model and set it to our class schedule entities. And then just tell it to scaffold the tables inside of that model and database. Then basically once we do that, we're just going to compile it and see what happens. And if we do it right, what Visual Studio does, the name implies, is it basically creates a website dynamically from your model based on the tables and the navigational properties. It figures out what a page should look like. It knows how to insert, update, delete, and query and all those things. And just by clicking on the links there, you can insert, update, and delete from your tables and do all kinds of stuff. And as you will see once we're done, it's very quick, and it's pretty impressive that we went from database to model to having a website all within about 5 minutes. There's a lot that Visual Studio does for you, and it's very impressive to see all that. I wish I could jump into that right now.
As we can see, Microsoft provides us with several tools to automate much of the work involved when we're going from the initial brainstorming up through database design and on to the creation of our web application. We've been repeating this process of creating something from scratch to get a good idea of how the tool should work. Once we understand the inner workings of it, we can go out and find a Visual Studio tool to accomplish this for us. Now we're going to take that one step further with another tool that Microsoft gives us, the Dynamic Data Entities Web Application Template. To create our new project, go up to File, New, and Project. In the Templates area, make sure you have the web category selected. In here, you'll find the ASP.NET Dynamic Data Entities Web Application Template. So go ahead and click OK once you've found that. Once our project has been created, we still need to add our entity framework model. So let's do this now. Go up to the project file, right-click, scroll down to Add, and then click New Item. In the Templates category, make sure you have the Data category selected. Here, find the ADONet Entity Data Model. We're going to name ours Class Schedule. Again, we want Entity Framework to create the model for us and generate it from our database. So make sure you have the Generate from Database option selected and click Next. When you come to the data connection screen, the database we've been using all along should be selected. If it's not, you can click New Connection to find the database. Once you've selected the Class Schedule database, click Yes to include the connection string in the web config file. Also, we can see below that Visual Studio has named the entity class for us. Go ahead and click Next. On this screen, Visual Studio asks us which items we want to pull in from the database into our model. For now, we want to include all of the tables, so go ahead and click the checkbox beside Tables. From there, click Finish. And now we have the model that Visual Studio has made for us. It's pulled in all of our tables, as well as the foreign keys that we've created, and made associations between those tables. Now, we want to find the global ASX file to tell the project which model to use in our Dynamic Data's website. Once you're in the global ASX file, scroll down until you find this line. This is the specific line that tells the project which model to use when creating the dynamic web pages. We want to tell it to use our model, so go ahead and put the name in there. We want to use the Class Schedule entities. Also, we want to tell the project to make sure it scaffolds all of the tables. So change this parameter to true. At this point, we've specified which model to use for our Dynamic Data's website, so we can go ahead and try it out. Go ahead and hit Ctrl F5 to begin the website. Here we can see the Dynamic Data website that has been generated for us. Below we can see links for all of the tables that were in our database. Let's see what happens when we click on one. Here we get a nice view of all of the records that were in our table for course offerings. As you can see, any of the fields that could have been used for sorting now appear as controls up above. Also, each row can be edited, deleted, or we can insert new items. All of these controls and pages have been generated for us dynamically. As you can see, this greatly speeds up the development process, as within a matter of a few minutes, we've gone from creating the project, creating the model, and having a working web application. Using this tool, we can not only make better web applications, but develop them much faster.
At this point, if there's any questions, we can field those, but then we'll wrap it up. Anybody have any questions on that last lab? Stick around if you've got more afterwards. We really want to thank you guys a lot. Grove City was really kind in giving us the food and everything else for this. We really appreciate it. We do have a couple of evaluation forms that we got to this point because the last year's folks evaluated and told us what we could make better, and we appreciate any comments from you guys as well. So thank you very much for your patience. You guys did a great job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.